Are we recording, sir? All right. This is February 11th, City of Watertown Public Works Commission meeting. I will call it to order. Stipulate that we have a full quorum here tonight for our meeting. And go to item number 2, which is comments and suggestions from citizens present. Anybody have any comments about items not on our agenda this evening? I see one caller. Does caller have any comments? All right, I'll move on to item number 3, which is review and approve minutes. Public Works meeting minutes from January 28th, 2025.
I'd move to accept the minutes as written.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item 4 is our business. Review and take action, award the furniture package bid. Who shall talk about this? Mr. Stevens?
This item and the next item are the last 2 items that we will be presenting to you relating to the fire station construction and related things. Everything else that we have yet to decide upon are going to be smaller than the $50,000 amount. For the most part, those are things relating to cabling and the like that we have a single source through Digicorp for. So with that said, I have presented to you on page 4 the evaluation process, what the evaluation rubric was that was used for this. We were pleased to receive actually 11 different proposals, 10 different companies. One gave us an alternate, but the 10 proposals that we received were in the range of $176,000 to $300,000. The evaluation scores are listed on that piece of paper for you. It is our recommendation that EBI is the choice of the staff through the evaluation process. The highest of the weighting is the cost, but it's not the only one. And some of the reasons for that are listed there. Highest evaluation ranking of the companies that we ranked conformed best to the specifications, including the quality of the furniture. We're looking obviously for something to last for the life of the next 20 years or so. Proven experience with other city projects, including post-install support. We've been using this company now for the last 3 years and are pleased with their actual performance. And I'll say even when things have not gone the way they're supposed to, I can cite a desk that was purchased and the wrong piece came. So the after install support was just as important to us. And also with that, we'd like to make that recommendation that EBI be awarded this furniture bid. It is within the confines of what the budget was, which originally was $250,000, then we dropped it down to $215,000, and this is a quote of $191,358.
Questions, comments? Go ahead.
Yes, Mark, it looks like on the rating or the cumulative average, there really were only 2 that were competitive, the recommended EBI and the BSI. If that difference of 80.33 and the 78.33 is a average of where they fell in your evaluation system, that's a reasonably close comparative number. And yet the difference in the quote was about $15,000. what was it about BSI that caused them to be rated lower than the EBI quote or the rating given to them?
Yep, a very, very good question and good insight from what you're looking at. The biggest differential, I would say, from my perspective personally, and Tanya, I'll admit, is one of the other of the three of us that reviewed, so she might have a different comment, but the greatest difference that I saw on the BSI was most of the requested kinds of furniture, makes and manufacturers were substituted. So this, although it's a second quote and everything else on the evaluation fared halfway decent for them, BSI did not use the majority of the requested furniture choices that were part of the specs that were delivered out. So it was, yes, a cheaper alternative, but for perhaps a cheaper quality of product.
I guess I don't have any concerns with what were the applied ratings for each of these different competitors, and I certainly trust your judgment in that regard. But is that 5-part rating system something that is applied citywide whenever there is a non-specific price bid determination?
This, although the weighting was different, and in fact, we added a higher weight to the cost, this 5-point evaluation is what we have used, I have used in other projects. So yes, I'm pretty sure Andrew would have a higher quantity of doing bidding and all, but it's the same evaluation tools. It might be weighted different, but yes.
Well, I've seen that general comparative matrix that she used to assign values before, and this is my concern, and I'm not sure how it would have sifted out had different percentages been used. But of that first 10 bids, 5 were eliminated exclusively based on cost. And then within the remaining 5, the evaluation that was applied to them only was based on 30% cost. And it seems to me, especially when you have such a small percentage derived from the cost of the bids, to have the final average be as close as it is, and with $15,000 being at stake, I guess I'm throwing this out just because I feel that it is much too low a percentage that's being given for the cost factor in the final determination. All of these are legitimate considerations and certainly need to be factored in. But when 70% of the determination is non-cost based, when the other 5 were eliminated exclusively based upon the amount of their bid, I think that it has the potential and may very well be at work here to undermine the interests of the taxpayers when things that are substantially close between this EBI and the BSI and $15,000 of taxpayers' monies involved. The only way that that could be justified is if we sign off on the the weighting of the 5 categories. And I'm just suggesting, and it may very well be something that could be looked at from a citywide perspective, but I believe that 30% allocated to the final determination for cost is insufficient, is an inadequate weighting for something that I think is the most important factor, which is the cost.
The reasoning for the dropping of the other 5 was that the company EBI was utilized to help create and craft the RFP. And so it wasn't too difficult for us to easily eliminate companies that were not in full compliance with what the specs were to start with and were more expensive than that company. So that was the rationale for excluding the top or the more expensive, the second half of the bids, because there's no reason to pay more for a compliance to a spec than the company that helped create that spec to start with. And also, that was the rationale for the elimination of the more expensive numbers 6 through 10.
I'm actually making a point where that comparison is not to suggest that it was wrong to eliminate them based almost exclusively on cost, but to suggest that that cost factor should have been a bigger factor
Yep.
in the evaluation of those that remain.
Understood.
Others? What is the spec, Mark? What product line are we talking about?
Han, for the most part, is the preponderance of the any of the furnishings that are in office spaces, collaborative workstations, cabinetry.
And what did BSI propose?
BSI has a different company. For the most part, their company is it's all over the place. Sit On It is the company name. So for the most part, any and all of their furniture is either a sit on it, or they do have a 9 to 5 seating is another name for it, for their seats. Han was the expected spec for seating as well as the hard goods in the offices and the like.
What about the other 3? What did they propose?
I apologize, I do not have those individual quotes with me.
No?
Some of the furniture is exactly the same. The bunk rooms, for instance, everybody used the same sources because it's a firehouse company. And also, there was a similarity for any of the furniture that was in the dorm rooms.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, all of the estimates here were pretty close. Except for the BSI one. And I'm comfortable with Mark's explanation as far as the trade-offs between quality and price. I mean, I understand, and I don't disagree with Fred's point here, but, you know, if we're buying furniture before if we have to buy replacement furniture before the end of expected life, then, I mean, there's additional costs there that you would have to consider as well, so.
Is this it relative to the furniture for the building?
There's
I think you
in
said there's,
addition to this, got a shopping list here. We've just gotta find my number.
you got 20,000 reserved for the kitchen table.
20,000 for EMS storage, shelving, nursing mother's room chair, lighting for the bunk rooms, a coffee maker, day room end tables, and the kitchen table that they're looking to personalize, which is a common practice in firehouses.
But everything else is in this package.
Yes, correct.
Quick question. Nursing mother's room or table. Why is that needed, I guess, to say? Without being cruel, why is that needed?
That is a room that's in the plans in the office space. So the original item that EBI suggested to us, I thought was too expensive of a piece of furniture for that space that will probably be one of the least utilized spaces in the building. So we asked for that to be removed, as we did like the kitchen table. And, figured we could find a much cheaper alternative for something that's not going to be used that much.
I'm just curious, what would it be used for? I mean, I know nursing moms, but why are nursing moms there?
So the table's included in the bid so that you have a place to put the pump and the supplies as you sit down to connect. And so you'd sit in there and go, and the nursing mother would pump, and then they'd have a space to clean up and do the cleaning of the equipment. And then there's gonna be a refrigerator put in there as well.
You're talking about nursing equipment.
Mhm.
That's what I'm asking, why room for mothers in a fire station?
Because when you're a firefighter that is working 24-hour shifts and you just have a kid, if you choose to breastfeed for the next year or two, as is common practice, then you need a place to go and pump and take care of all of that. When I was nursing and pumping, I was leaving my milk in the spare refrigerator in the apparatus bay with all the food.
Okay, I misunderstood, I guess. First, I'm thinking there's a baby, then it's not that there's a baby there, it's
Nope.
just someone's bringing the baby to you to eat.
It's there for us to pump.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. My mind had a mental note, but we got it figured out now.
All right, gentlemen, we have a recommendation for a purchase of furniture. What's your pleasure?
Can I say one more thing? I understand Alderman Smith's contention about the price and bottom line, especially with the contention of this contentious nature of this fire station in the city. Bottom line, seems like cost would be a big factor, but there's people who we have entrusted to find the right equipment, what's gonna last, what's gonna meet the need. We all know buying cheap is not always the wisest way to go. So the people we have entrusted to this, I trust they have done research and have found the best use for the city, even by paying a little more.
Make a motion. I would move that we award the furniture package bid to EBI as recommended by the staff.
For $191,358.
Yes, thank you.
Is there support?
I would second that.
And Mark, I must admit, I asked you who the spec was because I used to sell office furniture. I know the name Han. I have no idea who Sitright is or.
Sit on it.
Sit on it. I just have no idea who they are.
That is admittedly our feeling as well, is that we need to secure something that has a lasting capability. The warranty issue also is in, when we're evaluating the quality and durability, it's what is that warranty? I would also just add that if and when this is approved, we'll obviously be scrutinizing every line item that is purchased. And there are some notes that we've taken along the way. Tanya, for instance, has, suggested, do we want to buy the mattresses from them? Why don't we touch base with our folks right here in Watertown to see what we can get for pricing from them? And also, there's still some work on it, but we know that this would be the top price. And as we scrutinize line by line, we may even find some additional savings and things like extracting of the mattresses and going local.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I guess if we're approving a package, aren't we approving everything, or do you have the ability yet to pick and choose?
We would have the ability to pick and choose as we're going line by line through here.
Okay.
So I would ask that this is the maximum.
All right, we have a motion with support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
I got it. Okay, the motion carries 4-1.
3-1.
I get to vote. Okay, item number B, review and take action, accept bid for fire station storage building.
The memo lays out what the request is for it. Again, this is that last piece of the puzzle for the fire station. I relayed to you what the contingency is that is included in the construction. We're down to about $194,000 remaining. This did go out to public bid. There was just a sole bid that was received on a timely basis. I'm not implying that one came late. It was just we only received one for it. And the estimated cost originally was around $215,000. And paragraph 2 indicates that it came in at $217,175. That is an insulated price. They're offering an alternate bid, removing the insulation for the $163,735. Moss, as our contractor, has provided an email to you all indicating that they would suggest that a fully insulated building would be the preferred, which we would agree to. But price is what it is. And so my recommendation is just my personal recommendation is to afford it without the insulation. Wishing we could do the insulation, but there are things for you to discuss and decide with that. If you were to want the insulation, then Trevor has done some work with the company to suggest perhaps a slighter cost for that. And that's addressed at the bottom of page 7 in his email to us.
Gentlemen? What's going to be stored in the building?
Fire chief has a better answer than I would come up with.
What would be stored in this building would be training props and probably one bay, trailers that we have stored down at the recycling center and at other various locations throughout the city, and then possibly the reserve apparatus that aren't utilized daily or regularly.
Is there a boat that would be in there?
I think the boat's gonna be in the secondary bay.
Okay.
Preferably.
And I'm not sure how to ask the question, but so I'll ask it the dumb way. Is there anything in that building that requires to not freeze or to be heated, or however you want to say it?
Hmm.
Anything going to be damaged if the building's not heated?
And I mean, currently our equipment is the recycling centers heated or no? Currently, it's not stored in a heated facility. However, it its ability to start and run if needed to move and put into actual functional status would be impacted potentially on those really cold winter days and that type of thing.
And an uninsulated building, any devices there with gaskets or batteries will have longer life in an insulated building as opposed to experiencing those cold, harsh freezing conditions. Another thing to add, if you were to not insulate the building and then insulate at a later date, the cost would be significantly more to try to insulate it later. So your best cost savings is to insulate it right away if that was ever an idea. I know that was an idea tossed around, but just to insulate it after the fact would be substantially more expensive.
Mark, is it, what you're ultimately hoping to do is to have better numbers in a couple months and to move forward now with the uninsulated amount? And then if the numbers are more favorable, or at least you know enough to be able to make that call to make that alteration at that point?
Yes, thanks for asking. There are allowances within the construction costs totaling $286,500. Just give for instances, the dewatering, the soils, those kinds of things were part of the beginning of the process. Winter construction and temporary heat is an example. Dumpsters, final cleaning, utilities for temp services, any and all of these things have allowances built into the construction. And so some of those things have been used, but at this point, we're at 107,000 that have not been used. Now, we still have winter happening. So temp heat will continue. Final cleaning obviously hasn't happened. Those kinds of things will be into the future. So I don't know what that remaining allowance will be yet, but the further we go down the pike, we'll obviously have a better grasp of, do we have anything that we could capture back and say, okay, let's put it into the insulation. I don't have a drop dead date on when we have to make that determination. You said 2 months.
Yes, we would have approximately 2 months to make that decision.
There are definitely some savings that we know we could add. 5,400, for instance, on training tower lighting. Well, that's done. So we underspent what the allowance was, and so I've got $5,400 that could come off of here. I haven't moved anything with the Moss on this list, but I do know that's one that we know that is going to be able to come off on that.
However, we probably should share page 6, the final paragraph there suggests that the remaining contingency in our $14 million budget today is $25,623. So if you spend all that allowance, right,
Yes.
we're at 13,975,000 with an uninsulated building. Right?
You want a motion?
Caught that. Yeah, please.
Okay. So
Wait a minute.
in your recommendation there, you include a remobilization cost of 4372. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, that is for Walsh Masonry. They're the mason on the project. That project gets a stone wainscoting around the exterior.
Bolt, not Walsh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bolt. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Bolt Masonry. When they bid the project, they intended to do it in one mobilization, one phase. With the cold storage being delayed and pushed back, they would have to remobilize their grout towers. There is a lot of labor involved with that. So we would view that as a fair request.
By the way, you're Trevor, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that at this time, we approve the contract with Morton for the uninsulated amount, with the understanding that as the numbers become clearer, and if there is the capacity to add insulation, at an appropriate time, that remain a possibility, and it simply come back to the committee for that approval.
Okay, is there support?
I couldn't hear.
I said, is there support?
I'll second. I do have a clarification. Is that for the total 168,107 then?
Right? 168,107?
With the remobilization cost as recommended?
I'm not sure. I thought the uninsulated recommended amount was the 163,735.
Yeah, bottom of page 5, top of page 6 has the whole recommendation there where they do indicate the 163,735 plus
The masonry contract has
remobilization
to,
cost of.
the masonry contractor has to
43,702.
come back when the
68,
building is done. So that's another
168,107.
$4,372.
So the 168,107 is for the uninsulated building plus the masonry contractor doing the wainscoting. for the-
Okay,
the
yep, that's
base.
fine.
Okay, other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Mr. Stevens, do we want to go over? It's not on the agenda, but do we want to go to the other item?
The last paragraph in the background of the fire station does talk to the electrical connections and lighting in the storage building. And so Trevor would probably be better to educate you on the process on that. The bidding package has included the storage building, electricity, but there was some confusion.
So he's talking about some comments made on page 5 and specifically page 9 of your packet.
Okay, so the cold storage building was to be included in the base bid of every contractor who had work on the cold storage building. How it works is there's the bid specifications that the bidders must read, and then the bid form where they must enter their bid. When it came to the electrical section, there was a mistake made by Haiti, and it was also, it should be pointed out, it was made by 5 of the 6 electrical contractors who bid on this project, so Haiti was not the only one who made this mistake. So on their bid form, Haiti put add for their amount, and I'm gonna hand out the alternate section so you all can see specifically how it reads. Here is the alternates highlighted on the back. And copy short.
Thank you. We'll share. We can share.
So as you will see that the cold storage bid was to be included in the base bid and the alternate was to omit it. So Haiti's bid is for when they had, sorry about that. The cold storage building on the bid form, they put for an add of $44,791.81. Which would be incorrect. Because if the alternate is to omit it, then you would not add dollars when you're omitting a building. So it's an honest mistake on Haiti's part. And like I said, 5 of the other 6 have made the same mistake. So from our professional opinion, it is a honest bidding mistake that was clearly a mistake when the bids were received. So we would, I'll let Bruce talk. We did go over some options of how to potentially reduce that cost, and Bruce may or may not have some options. So I will let Bruce discuss that, and then we can discuss further. Good, Bruce?
All right, when we first introduced the bid to the city, I just want to make it clear that I did give you a very reasonable bid. I bid my work to get my work. My bid for doing this is higher than the rest. I understand that. But the original was $200,000 low. Hey, it is what it is. However, going forward, I always try to do the best for everybody so that nobody loses. But I just have to tell you that, you know, my prices are pretty good. I would be reasonable to open up and say, hey, you guys wanna, I'm not gonna cut my price in half, I can tell you that right now. Okay, it's not gonna happen. I did my work. I have a price. I'm willing to work on the price. If I can save you money, I will. But I'm asking you to give me $125 an hour per man that works on a job. Material cost plus markup. Nobody loses that way. When we bid, we always have to take whether or not we're gonna make any money, am I right? We never know. High bid, low bid, hey, sometimes nobody makes any money. But that's, they came to me and asked me if I could lower my price. I honestly don't feel that I can lower my price. I already gave you a tremendous price for doing the building. I know it, we put it as an adder. Contract, the way all that stuff reads, it's very confusing. That's a mistake. So with that being said, you guys know where I stand. You know what I offered, how I came to this, how I got it for 200,000 to begin with. Even if you guys paid me what I said, you would still be saving what, 150,000? A little more than 150,000 from the first initial. So-
It would actually be more than that, the savings, because the other contractors would, they also were asking for an ad.
Yes, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not even adding on what they say that it should be, what they thought it would be. So it would be more than that, but I'm just giving you guys the stuff that I can figure off the top of my head. All right? So the best I got.
Thank you. Bill?
All right, so when I read this, I went back to our, I know back in March, end of March, we had a review of all the bids. So I have the sheet from dated March 21st. And Mr. Haiti is correct here. Back on, we got to the bid package number 20, and Haiti was 757,306.64. The one recommended by Moss was KW Electric, which was 979. The next low bid 700. So he was rough calculation like 220,000. And we voted that at that time to go with Haiti Electric. So since Trevor's stating at today that 5 out of 6 firms also missed this part of the bid, I think it's an honest mistake by Hades, and I support his request of 45,291 to perform the work. I still think we're coming out ahead as a city by using Haiti Electric.
So I guess I had the question is, where does that put us in the overall budget if this has to go back in and it's not accounted for now?
And that's why I gave you on page 6, the 25,623 was the contingency, so I will have to come up with a creative solution.
Is there an option on that until We're waiting for the installation. Is that,
Trevor, when does this work have to
is there
happen?
an option to wait for this as well?
This work would not occur until after the building is erected,
After the
after the cold storage building.
uninsulated
The
storage building?
uninsulated or insulated, whatever decision's
Yeah.
made, building is erected. So
It- yeah.
several months.
There's no difference in the electric work, either insulated or non-insulated or,
No difference. It would still need the same lights and outlets regardless if it's insulated or uninsulated.
So just out of curiosity, you said 5 of the 6 made the same mistake. Did the recommended contractor that you brought to us, did they make the same mistake?
They also made the same mistake.
So they would have been back here asking for additional money as well.
Yes.
is it worth, words from max allowed would be the 45,291, or as Mark proposed, or Bruce proposed, time and material with a
Yes,
not to exceed?
I would think we would do it as a time and material to not exceed the 45,000.
And you were comfortable with that because you proposed it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really an option on the table right now, right? We don't have to,
We view that as a fair request.
Okay, so I get dumb questions all night, so I might as well ask my dumb question, right? Is 125 an hour the consistent rate for an electrical contractor today?
That is the going rate for a commercial electrician.
Okay.
That's industry standards. That's about what we're seeing.
Had to ask.
I figured that was coming.
Yeah, so what I was reminded of this and I knew it. We don't have an action item on the agenda for this. So what I would recommend is that, Mr. Byer, you bring it back to us for our next meeting as an action item. And I don't want to poll the commission. What I'm generally hearing is there is some acceptance to doing the time and material for a not to exceed. Is that fair? Yeah, we don't have an agenda item, so it wouldn't be appropriate for us to take an action when we don't. So I'm sorry to make you don't have to come back, but you can if you want. Is that fair? Everybody agree? Okay.
Mr.
All right.
I believe as well, Trevor, correct me, that some of the materials that were spec'd originally might not be as economical as alternates may be as well. Light fixtures and the like, weren't there some modifications that,
For light fixtures for the cold storage building?
yes,
We have been exploring doing value engineering, more cost-friendly light fixtures. We have not found any yet, but I think that's something that we can, before that next meeting, we can revisit and see if there's any cost-saving options for light fixtures.
And I'm sure Mr. Haiti will help you do that, so, yeah. Okay. I'm glad it's working out. All right, thank you very much. We'll move on. All right, item C. Review and take possible action, award West Street Water Tower Rehabilitation Project base bid to O&J Coatings, Inc. for a total of $509,000. Hello, Pete.
Hi, thank you. I have my memo included. As you all know, Strand was hired for overseeing this project, and we did open bids. Tuesday, the 4th of February, we received 11 bids. And I did include a bid tabulation with this memo. Strand has reviewed the bid submitted. We have the bid bond. We have references checked. And we also went over the financial statement and their qualifications. Everything checks out with O&J Coatings. In fact, they were to Nemix, who's a paint company. People's Choice voted Tank of the Year in 2024 in Texas. So they do some quality work. I will mention also that we did put together a project estimate with Strand, and we came in at half of what we estimated, which was incredible. And we were very surprised and pleased with that. As I noted in the fiscal impact, this is, we had 1,100,000 in the budget for this project. This particular portion of the project budget is 509,000. What we're here to talk about tonight, with additional work remaining on the site includes a new parking lot and fencing. We don't expect that to exceed 100,000, so we are still well under budget for this project. I'll also add that the painting, finished painting and the look of the water tower is going to match our logo with the green top, blue bottom with the wave and the word Watertown on the tank. So
Questions?
questions. I'm recommend we award the project to AJ Coatings. I'll take some questions. We did have some alternates in there if there were some questions on that.
But you're not recommending the alternate.
No, the alternate was to remove the shroud, which is the curtain that goes around the tank to do the sandblasting and painting. So we weren't sure if removing the shroud would save a lot of money or not, so we put that in as an alternate. Alternate one was removal of the shroud, which included alternate two, meaning the contractor was then responsible to have some form of containment with a wet sandblasting and then removal of the debris. So we didn't see a lot of savings on that. In fact, for the low bidder, O&J, it was only $10,000. So we don't recommend removal of the shroud. We want to keep the shroud in place for the project.
Does O&J have offices in Wisconsin?
OJ, they're based out of Texas. They don't have offices, although they're a traveling painting company and they are mobile. They have had recent projects in Wisconsin and the Midwest. So they do quite a bit of work outside of the state of Texas.
And you got 11 bids?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
11 bids?
11 bids, yes,
And how
sir.
many of those came from Wisconsin
I'm
companies?
not familiar with any of the other 11 except for one, TMI Coatings. These painting companies I'm not familiar with.
Gentlemen?
Any of the Wisconsin projects, did you get references from?
Yes, they were included. There were a few tanks in Wisconsin as part of their references.
All favorable?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have done cold weather painting. They won't be painting in the cold weather. There are certain barometric conditions and weather patterns that they have to adhere to make sure that the paint coating sticks. But they've been in this area and they have done projects and their references check out.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Pete, there were 11 bids. Is this the low bid?
Yes, it is.
What was the highest bid?
The highest bid was TMI Coatings and
Okay.
1,090,000.
1,093,000.
You must have known your estimate.
They were much higher on the exterior surface prep and coating was 476,000. O&J is 180,000. So they were higher on also on the interior by 100 grand as well. So that's where their cost was.
Mr. Smith, did you have a question?
Not a question. I was going to make a motion.
If you would, please.
Yeah, I make a motion that we recommend awarding the bid for the water tower project to O&J Coatings for a total of $509,000.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
For a twofer while they're up here, seeing you got the budget for it?
What would you like?
Is there another tower they can paint?
What did they could do while they're here? I mean, for another
Not
400,000?
quite, not quite yet. The next one we think will be the airport reservoir or possibly O'Connell Street. Yeah, wouldn't a twofer be nice?
Yeah.
Not we have all different tanks, so.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion with support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you for that. Item D, review and take possible action. Enter into a 2-year agreement with HydroCorp, Inc. for the industrial and commercial cross-connection control program inspections for $33,371.14.
Thank you. Although this is under the $50,000 threshold, this is in front of you because it spans 2 years. And Attorney Cheesebro recommended we bring it to the commission for approval, because that does commit funds to the 2026 budget, with this 2-year contract. So, we've been working with HydroCorp since 2015, doing our, required inspections. We do have to do these inspections for our cross connection control program, which is outlined in the city code and also the state codes. This is actually an expense that we are allowed to pass on to the commercial and business customers in Watertown, but the water department has taken control of this program, and we like to do that. It also provides this service to these customers, over 200 of them at no cost. So we do pay for that, and the reasons are many for that because we can get dinged by the DNR if these facilities are not up to code on their cross connections, and it takes a lot of time and effort to get them there. Our program is in a great place where we are fully compliant, and this continues with our inspections that are on the intervals required with this company, and they're familiar with the places they go, such as, the big ones, Wispac, Clausen, Johnsonville, to the other commercial places and restaurants. So there's a lot of places that they go to. A lot of different things they're looking for.
So if we approve this 2-year contract, you'll simply put the other 17,000 in the next annual budget.
Correct. That would go into the 2026 budget. I do plan the budget for it every year. Of course, there's no guarantees on what gets approved, but this does go into the operations budget. So yes, I would commit those funds for 2026 that would be accounted for. And then that would come forward with the budget presentation already wrapped up and rolled in there.
Okay, yeah.
that
Want
a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the 2-year agreement with HydroCorp for the inspections of the cross connection program for $33,371.14.
Second.
Oh, I see how it is. Now you all want to jump in. Any other comments or questions?
It's a continuing effort, going back to the same places each year, or is it, how do they jump around?
It is continuing. So, but if the new, like a Pizza Hut, opens up, they need to have an inspection. So it includes new ones as well. But also, yes, the same ones. And anytime some plumbing changes in a facility, and a lot of that does happen. And several times if their mechanic or their maintenance person does a change, they don't necessarily report that. These inspections find things like that. So, we found, simple things like an emergency shower was piped in, but it was tapped into the wrong line, a fire suppression line instead of the domestic water supply line. Something like that. That's what we find occasionally. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we have a motion with support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item E.
Thank you.
Review and take possible action, the Stormwater Ordinance Revisions, Chapter 288.
All right, I'll kick this one off. And items E and F, I'll be presenting on together, but I'd ask for separate motions for each of the chapters and revisions proposed for each. Chapter 288 and 453 of the City of Watertown Municipal Code of Ordinances serve as the backbone to the city's stormwater program. After review with staff internally, we discovered a few areas that should be updated to reflect Wisconsin DNR NR 216 and NR 151. Kind of the the state authority for erosion control and stormwater runoff, and then NR 216 guides our MS4 permit requirements. So there's a red line of proposed ordinance changes included in the packet. Maureen and I did meet with Attorney Cheesebro and went over these proposed changes last week. To summarize the 4 changes that we're proposing, which are largely housekeeping items. The first being Chapter 288, 18D, paren 2, paren B, should be updated to include a post-construction stormwater peak flow exemption for sites that drain directly to large water bodies like the Rock River. Proposed change number 2 is to Chapter 288, 15A, paren 2, which should be updated to include post-construction minor road reconstruction exemptions. A definition should also be added to the ordinance for that minor road reconstruction that mirrors NR 151. The third proposed change is to Chapter 288, 24 and 25, which should clarify citation authority for sites that don't have a permit. And then the fourth proposed change is a reference in 45339D, which should be a reference to 45341D. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if there are any. Marina is here with us as well if there are any more technical questions that you can dive into.
What happens if we don't make the changes?
It would stay as is. We can be more stringent than the state requirements, but how we operate currently, for example, the minor road reconstruction exemption, in practice, we do operate as NR 151 requirements. So if we're doing a road reconstruction project, per NR 151, we wouldn't need to make water quality improvements, but there's no clear language in the city stormwater code that speaks to that. So it's really just lining up what we practice with state requirements. And Marine, looking at, does that, I'm seeing nods.
Gentlemen?
Sure. Go to make a motion to approve the stormwater ordinance revisions as outlined for Chapter 288. Do these separate.
Yeah, we're gonna do it separate.
Yeah.
Second. I have a motion with support. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item F, review and take possible action, stormwater ordinance revision, chapter 453 that Andrew just went through. Motion. Motion by Wetzel,
I'll support that.
supported by Thompson. Comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our next item of business is adjournment. Can I get a motion?
Sure.
Mr. Smith, thank you, sir. Is there a support?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody want to stay for a while?
Aye.
Adjourned at 6:30.